What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and we all should be excited. We are less than a month away from FC26, and because of how vocal we were, because we finally stopped giving EA Sports our money through pack openings, through premium pass purchases, through players later on after release buying the game, but this year, because of so many bad reviews, they decided to hold out. All of those things combined hurt EA Sports financially. And when a company like that is hurt financially, things are going to start changing, which led them to finally start listening to us. And because we were actually vocal, spoke up about all of the things wrong with the franchise, with FC25 in particular, we got to see what the power and might of such a big company like EA Sports can do when they actually care. When they see that their numbers are falling and they need to make changes, they decided to focus on what us, the player base, wants to see in the game. After years of ignoring us, after years of just giving us nonsense, barely changing the game year after year, not focusing on anything the player base wanted, we finally have a game centered around our requested changes. And boy, did EA Sports deliver. While they don't deserve a pat on the back, we as a player base should be excited because we deserve this game that's coming. Those of us who play the beta, you know what I'm talking about, but many of you who haven't got to play the beta, or even if you did, maybe you just don't have a keen eye right now to see just how many changes there are. Maybe you just recognize the game feels entirely different. But in this video, we are going to go over the top 5 franchise-saving changes that are coming in FC26. Now, it should go without explanation, but just in case you don't get it, by franchise-saving changes, I mean if these changes weren't implemented, players would have continued leaving FC, no new players would have thought about even looking towards FC, and the franchise would have continued on a downward spiral until it totally crashed and burned. And even though until the game is fully released and players can see it, can start playing it, many aren't going to believe that the franchise isn't still in a downward spiral. I know, as well as many of you, that they actually cooked for FC26. And to show you just how many impactful changes were made, before we get into the actual top 5 list, we have an honorable mentions. We're talking about things like improved goalkeeper AI and reactions. So you'll no longer look at your keeper going, what in the heck are you doing? So obviously, better parries. So no longer will we have to worry about opponents trying to abuse shooting the ball, just knowing that the keeper is going to push it into one of their other players for a tap-in. But we also can expect better reactions, better movements, better saves from our keepers, while also not having to worry about them being broken. They truly found a good balance. Not only that, but we no longer have to worry about the glitch shots, right? Those 25, 30-yard travellas or finesse shots from those certain angles that are almost go in like tap-ins, where your goalkeeper just stands there, doesn't even react half the time, right? That's a common thing where you'll see a combination. They improve the keepers for different reasons, such as the parries, no longer giving tapping goals, but also the improvements cover these glitchy shots. While on the offensive side, removing green time finishing, removing Trivela plus as a standalone play style, things like that. There's like a combination where these changes fix the game in different areas. The same thing with better AI marking. Now, on defense, you don't have to worry about those spam through balls, whether it's in a 4-2-1-3 or just any setup, since your AI will mark tighter. However, they won't steal the ball. You are going to have to manually switch to that defender, who will now be in a better place to make a play, right, because of the smarter AI marking. But no longer will rats be able to just park the bus, chase you as one player, hope you run into the AI who will win the ball. If you're not defensively player switching, that better marking isn't going to help anybody except for that player who utilizes the better marking to then win the ball themselves with good player switching defensively, right? Not to mention, the better AI marking helps with those cutback passes for tapping goals. So the days of spamming byline runs for passes across and one-time tap-ins, those days are over with. And as I go through this list, you are going to see the culmination of these changes lead to a more skill-based game. All these different areas, the skill gap is improved, and good, sharp, quality football is finally rewarded over shortcut taking, glitchy, ratty nonsense. And speaking of ratty nonsense, let's get into the list at number 5. No more L1 sprint boost or any type of unrealistic sprint boost that allowed for low skill ratty players to get around the fact that they couldn't really pass, they couldn't really dribble. They needed some unrealistic bullcrap to beat defenders. The L1 sprint boost combined with our number 4 on the list, we'll get to that, led to some very cringy and absolutely sloppy football, and the football's in quotations, all throughout FC25. And now that the L1 sprint boost, as well as any other unrealistic sprint boost, is gone, already we go in the right direction, just at number 5 on the list. So moving on to number 4, no more tacklebacks. As you can see in this gameplay on screen, which even though this player shouldn't have done this, in a way I'm glad he or she did share their beta gameplay, because if you're playing FC25 and someone's telling you how good FC26 is, it's going to be hard to believe. I mean, such a huge improvement over one iteration, especially with the track record at EA Sports, it would have been hard to believe. But as you can see in the game that you're watching, there's no tacklebacks. There's no any of the nonsense that I'm talking about on this list. By they I mean EA Sports, actually did put in work. In the tackleback removal is a huge sigh of relief. That alone would have chased many players away, because it led to so many times where defensively you would make a good play, and instead of being rewarded, you were punished. It led to ratty, no skill or low skill players, instead of trying to make good passes or make good dribbles, they just would kamikaze, for lack of a better term, into the defender, or pass on purpose into the defender and just start running at them, knowing the ball would just bounce off. It wouldn't be cleanly intercepted, and a lot of times, like I said, they would end up getting the ball back and actually being in a better position, sometimes getting straight through on goal, all from making mistakes. It was a complete joke, and now tacklebacks are all but entirely removed. I say all but entirely because every so often, which is going to happen in any football game, there's going to be these kind of goofy movements where there's a few different players running in different directions, and a tackleback like or similar to a tackleback type of animation occurs, and that's just how it goes. You can't really fix those, but the tacklebacks in general, right, especially in the way that they were abused throughout 25, those are 1,000% entirely gone, and we, the actual skilled football players of this game, couldn't be happier. So moving on to number 3, improved dribbling and jockey. Now I'll tell you why I combine these, because throughout FC25, the left stick dribbling in both jockey and sprint jockey were just so lethargic, to the point where even if you had the smaller, typically more agile, more shifty players, it just felt almost like the players had ankle weights on them, both offensively and defensively, and it really hindered the flow of the game. So as you can see in FC26, the dribbling is much sharper. The players have the ball tighter to their foot when they're making cuts, when they're dribbling straight forward, and obviously this also allows the player attributes to actually play more of a role, which better creates separation between different player identities, between players with great dribbling, decent dribbling, and so on and so forth. Not every single player is just going to feel lethargic because the dribbling as a whole is messed up, for, again, lack of a better way to say it. That's kind of being nice, but that's what it was, a completely messed up dribbling system. And the same thing with jockey. Every player felt like they had weights on their ankles, and it felt like you couldn't adequately keep up with the attackers. Therefore, we needed to get rid of AI defending, and while they did for the most part, you still had that, like we talked about earlier, park the bus and AI would steal the ball, which they finally fixed. We talked about in the honorable mentions. It still didn't give you that rewarding feeling when you would manually defend just because your players were so lethargic. Now, the quick cuts, keeping up with those attackers, feels so much better, both in a jockey stance and a sprint jockey stance. So those two combined, dribbling and jockey, those improvements just make the game so much more fluid and so much more responsive. Hint, hint. Moving on to number 2, improved passing. And I say that with the biggest exclamation point ever, because Again, as you can see in just this game alone, the passing is so much more responsive. Again, hint, hint, and so much sharper. You now can make insane passing sequences. You now can catch the defenders off guard from quick decision making. No more that lethargic passing, which was much the same as the dribbling and the jockeying slash defending, right? That was a huge issue in FC25. Everything was just so delayed, lethargic. The flow was terrible. The flow in FC26 is beautiful, and it feels like passing finally gets the attention it deserves. Players like Xavi, the newly coming Iniesta, are finally going to get their flowers. Same with Cruz coming in as an icon after years of being pretty much unusable because all he had was good passing. And while his speed was a huge problem, with this improvement in passing, you can tell the ball, as we know, always is moved faster than the man, but there's not as much need to dribble and do skill moves, which, by the way, those are much improved as well. However, the passing is so brilliant. If you are a skilled passer, if you have good vision to find open teammates, to make proper runs, you are going to have success, and that's what football's all about. Add all these things up, and what you are seeing is a pattern of the right things that make football the beautiful game being rewarded, where if you have skill in these different areas, finally, that's what's going to lead to success. Again, not the glitchy, shortcut, ratty nonsense. It's a beautiful thing. And that takes us to number one, which is a culmination of a lot of what we talked about. No more unresponsive gameplay. This includes command delay. Now, on August 26th, I released a video titled EA Sports Finally Speaks on the Biggest Question Facing FC26. If you watch this right away, it would have been the video released yesterday. If you watch it later, I wanted to make sure to document this because if you haven't, you need to go check out this video. EA Sports released a video on a secondary channel on X, not even their main channel, which I don't understand, and it was an extremely important video explaining exactly what they found out that was causing all the issues with the unresponsiveness in FC25 and in many games for the past several years. The unresponsiveness has been terrible. The command delay, the inconsistent gameplay, where one or both players have different levels throughout the game of terrible reaction time, right? Terrible delay of different levels. At its worst, players would glitch and you could be dribbling left, they would go right. Keepers would literally like miss the ball, it would go through their hands. And at its best, still having delay, you would just barely be able to feel it, but it would still affect the game somewhat. Rarely, if ever, would you get actual good gameplay. And EA Sports explains in more of a technical side, because I obviously don't have experience enough to speak in technical terms on this, what they figured out, what they identified as the biggest issues, and how they have fixed all of these, and how they'll continue to work on everything. Because you can tell, just watching, I personally can tell, and many of you can too, but you'll see, for those of you who've played the beta, you know, and if you haven't, once you play just for a minute, you'll be able to see the difference in what I'm talking about. The unresponsiveness, the command delay, it's totally gone, or at the worst, diminished to a point where even the worst connection games, which I experienced plenty in the beta, as you know, not as many players, it means the connection status, you play players further away from than you normally would, and still, even the worst connection games felt very responsive, and even though you could tell it wasn't perfect connection, perfect responsiveness, it was more than playable. You could absolutely still use your skills to play the game the right way. With FC25 and even other games in the past, it would get so bad with the command delay and the responsiveness, you would have to take shortcuts such as going all-out pressure just to get your players to somewhat move, since they all were just stuck, and you would have to do the craziest things. You couldn't take typical shots if defenders were around because the delay would allow the defenders to catch up. I mean, there's so many things that took away from your ability to adequately play, and many times this led to you losing games that you otherwise wouldn't have lost. It took away the skill gap and the competitiveness of the game entirely, and now even the worst connection games, you can still play beautiful football, and it is such a relief. That's because of what EA Sports explains in this video, which I entirely break down in that August 26th video. Again, the title is EA Sports finally speaks on the biggest question facing FC26. So I strongly suggest, if you weren't entirely sure what was going on with the unresponsive gameplay, or what I'm saying is totally foreign to you, you definitely need to go check that video out. Now, that concludes our top 5 and honorable mention changes that are franchise saving coming to FC26. I can't wait for you guys who haven't played the beta to actually experience just how good this game is. And this is coming from someone that despises EA Sports, and even with this amazing game they produced, I don't give them any flowers, because this is what they should have done for years. If they went in this direction from the start, they could be, who knows how far ahead we could be. But now we're at a point that at least is a good starting point. We can't change the past. We can only move on from here, and let's hope that EA Sports is smart enough to know that if they screw up, they don't have any more rope left. They are totally done for, and players will leave this game for good. That serves us well as a player base that wants great football, because now they're going to give us their very best. Unfortunately, Konami and Strikers, with their lack of effort or lack of ability, whatever you want to call it, they didn't really provide that pressure that we were hoping to make EA Sports give us a very good game, in fear that players would leave and go to those games. There was never much of a threat. But because we all spoke up, stopped giving them our money finally, in FC25 we really took it to another level, we now can reap the rewards in FC26. You let me know what you think in the comments section. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer about the beta. I'll answer as much as I can, or about anything else. Please check out available memberships, YouTube memberships. You can get videos extremely early. Discord, we are going in a direction to help every player with every area of FC26 and beyond, with the goal of helping all of us together reach our full potential in this game. We put so many hours in, we might as well make the best of it. So the link for Discord is in the YouTube bio, or you can just search in Discord, Oh Gamester FC. You guys keep grinding, keep having fun. Less than a month away, boys. Let's go. I will see you on the next one. Peace.